Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Afternoon, everyone.
Welcome, welcome. All right, I see everybody trickling in. We'll give it a minute or two.
I put a prompt in the chat while we wait. Like, where are you calling from? And then what song do you have on your playlist right now?
Ooh, it's a fun question.
Yeah. So if you want, go ahead and share that with us.
We're going to give it one more minute and we're going to get started. All right, well, we're going to get started. Welcome, everybody. It's so great to see so many new and familiar faces. I'm very excited to have you join us. Well, we'll get started. My name is Leah Gonzalez, and I am the Senior Program Manager here at Hope. I'm excited to welcome you here and have you in our fourth Hope Hour series. It's an educational series that we create as a way to continue offering online education to our Latina network. So today we're actually gonna have Yanira, a former alumni from one of our programs, the Hope Leadership Institute, but also gonna give us a lot of opportunities to learn about establishing our executive presence and what is it. So I want to make sure that I know there's already a couple questions, a couple prompts in the chat, but if you haven't yet, we want to know where you're joining us from today, what city, what office. So please share that in the chat. I think we're seeing a couple of other folks trickle in, but we're going to get started. Once again, thank you for sharing, and I encourage you all to feel comfortable using our chat and just raising your hand, celebrating along the way. And if you hear something you resonate, same thing, throw a supportive comment or reaction. So I'm going to introduce our speaker. As I mentioned, we have Yanira Guzman with us. She's the founder of Career Gym. As the founder of Career Gym, a full-service career coaching business, Yanira has over 15 years of guiding others to achievement, their career aspirations. As a first-gen college graduate, she keeps Latinas ambitious position themselves for their next career role, resulting in increased income and benefiting themselves, their families, and their communities. With a background in nonprofit leadership development, customer training for a top 50 Forbes tech company, complemented by 8+ years of teaching in California public elementary schools and in both urban and affluent schools as a Spanish bilingual teacher and literacy coach. She is well-versed in high-tech education, nonprofit industries. She holds an MA in education from San Francisco State University and a BA in sociology from UC Berkeley. So please join me in giving Janita a very
All of a sudden, I lost sound. Did that happen for others? Okay.
I apologize. My computer just shut down on me and just restarted. But as I was mentioning, if we can please give us a warm welcome to Yanira. Yanira, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Leah. And hey, that happens with tech. I've been there, done that. So much love to you all. Okay. As Leah mentioned, I am Yanira Guzman. I am HLI alum of class of 2022, and I am super excited to be here. This session is establishing your executive presence. What is it and do you have it? And so just to let you know a little bit more about me, I really help Latinas own their expertise. My coaching program is called OYE, which stands for Own Your Expertise and Increase Their Income. Really, I'm all about trying to close the Latina pay gap. And with that, as we get more income, we can help ourselves, our families, and our community. Those 3 areas are very important to me. Those are my values. And so that's what I foster. That was something. So the agenda for today, sorry, that was for another workshop that I did. We had to discuss the elephant in the room. So if you heard that, that's what that was for. Unfortunately, there's no elephant in this room, I don't think. But here is our agenda for today. We're going to do some just basic, real quick introductions. It's going to be in breakout format. We're going to talk about our thoughts. What do we think executive presence is? Then we'll go into like the meaning behind it and how do we pull it all together. One thing I want you all to know is that because I am a former teacher and because I'm a former corporate trainer, my expectation is that you talk. My expectation is that I will put you to work. I may have you grapple with some ideas, with some thoughts. I may ask you to stretch, but all of that is in the form of personal and professional growth. So there will be opportunities where I will ask you to come off of mute, or I will ask you to talk to your other colleagues in this room. Okay. All right. So here's my first question. I want you to just every individual person, if you want to jot this down on old school paper and pen, if you want to put this on your phone somewhere, I want to know, and we're not going to share it just right now. What are your thoughts? When you hear the word executive or the term executive presence, what comes up for you? And I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think that through. Okay, now hopefully you all have something that you can share. Now, this is going to be the opportunity where I'm going to ask you to go into breakout rooms. So, a couple of things. When you're in the breakout room, it's going to be 3 minutes. I want you to share with each other. So, be mindful of the time because you're going to be in breakouts of 3 to 4 individuals. Be mindful of the time, share one thought about your executive presence, hopefully, so that everyone can have an opportunity to share their thought. And then we'll come back as a whole group. Okay, so you should have something written there, or if you didn't write it, you should have had time to think. Any questions before I open up the breakout rooms? Okay, let's go ahead and open. Okay, I see where people coming back. We'll officially close in 4 seconds, the breakout rooms. Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming back. Hopefully you were able to share. At this point, I'm going to open it up for a few volunteers. Who would like to come off of mute and share either what you or your group discussed? What thoughts come up for you? Martha.
Hi, everybody. My group was dope. I will say thank you to those in my group. We've concluded with executive presence was any individual that walks in with confidence as well as acknowledging their audience. Maybe not verbally, but with the eye contact and saying, showing them, I see you. That was what ours was. And I believe some of the ladies could probably chime in and add a little bit more.
Okay. Thank you, Martha. Okay, can we get someone else? So it was confidence, acknowledging the audience. What else did we say?
So I'll chat for the group that I was in. I think one of the things that we all gravitated to was that somebody who has executive presence is like a person who has magnetism that people are naturally drawn to and inspires trust and confidence. And so again, somebody that's well spoken and can just connect and resonate with the people.
Okay, beautiful, Dolores. Someone else. Let's do one more. Cynthia.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Our group just talked about executive presence being someone who's a good listener, someone who's not afraid to take up space and really works to ensure buy-in in a group of people who might not otherwise be buying in.
All right. Okay. I don't know if I need to be here because you all have some amazing definitions of executive presence. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about that. So I just want, mind you, I worked with hundreds of professionals, mostly women, also men, but this is some of the thoughts that they shared with me when they hear the term executive presence. First of all, there's this myth or this belief that if you're in a leadership role or title, you automatically have executive presence. For instance, if you're a director, if you're in senior leadership, VP, you have executive presence. That's one of the first things. Did anyone talk about that? You can just give me an emoji, thumbs up, whatnot. Okay. All right. Another common thought is that it has to do with how you look, what you wear. You're always looking good. You got the fly outfit. Like there's no, like you just have this fashion sense that's incredible that it has to do with your appearance. Did that come up at all? Okay, I see some head nodding and then some others. Okay, let's keep going. The other thing that I hear, this is what people have shared with me. They don't want to be that type of leader. The type of leader that dominates, that's arrogant, that's overpowering, that's authoritative. And so there's this negative connotation with executive presence. Okay. And then I hear this a lot. Why do I even need it? Like my work should speak for itself. I should be promoted anyways because I'm already doing the work, my work. Okay, I see some head noddings on that one. Let's see, I'm gonna call on you, Asaria, if I'm saying that correctly. Do you mind sharing a little bit?
I actually, everything that you just mentioned resonates, and Amelia and I actually touched on a couple of these thoughts. It definitely entails a lot more than this, and sometimes it doesn't entail any of this. It's very much a misconception that you have a title up, like you just mentioned. It doesn't have to be executive per se, but you have a senior leadership role, and automatically people assume that your role defines the person that you should be, and oftentimes that's not what it is. It takes, and we spoke on gravitas, we spoke on how professionalism, knowing when to speak without actually being told to speak. It's sometimes you're not expected, you shouldn't speak all the time actually. What do you wear? It doesn't really mean anything, or it shouldn't mean anything.
Right.
At least that's what we were talking about. But all of this resonates, and I think that's the value of being in these type of workshops where we actually get that validation.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, again, all of these are thoughts. Some of them are positive thoughts, some of them are negative connotations, but really what it is, it's like providing you the opportunity to discuss these and then really define what is executive presence, because none of these our executive presence. I'm just going to put it out there. Okay. So what I want to show you is this video. I'm only going to show you 4 minutes of this video, but this is Kishte Sharma, and he gives a really good definition overview of executive presence. So I'm going to play it, and I want to make sure that if someone, I'm going to look at you, Monica Medina, if you can just give me a thumbs up that you can see it on your end and hear it. Otherwise, we'll have to go there. Okay. Is that cool with you? All right. Let's see. Let me go to the beginning.
I used to get, it was very early in my corporate career when I was a training manager in a global bank. I was considered very diligent in the way I used to work. I used to get regular pay hikes. I used to get regular good ratings and even awards. But one thing was missing. I was not getting promoted. And I was very, very frustrated that why is that happening? Despite being so competent, why am I not getting promoted? So I went to meet my manager. I said, that why am I not getting promoted? He said, Chitij, you lack executive presence. I said, executive presence? What the heck is executive presence? He said, your clients, everybody with whom you work, they really admire your work. However, they hardly notice your presence. They hardly remember you. And I started thinking that yes, that is so true. Because I was a very reserved person by nature. Whenever I go for a meeting, I'll make a presentation, close my laptop, come back. Will not strike any informal conversation. I never made any attempt to build any trust-based relationship, any sustainable relationship, any rapport. I was feeling miserable. I started thinking that I am good for nothing. I will never be able to grow in my career because I do not have a powerful executive presence. And somehow this word executive presence stayed with me. And there onwards started my journey to hone my executive presence. I went through several qualitative trainings. I got coached from the best mentors and coaches throughout the world. And I became very, very passionate about this subject of executive presence. Over a period of time, I observed that it was not just me. There were several other senior leaders, equally competent, very, very good in what they used to do, but they were not getting promoted, they were stagnated. And it is not just the corporate leaders, several founders, great ideas, great team, great product, but not able to scale up. So I realized, I took a resolve that I really need to support these leaders, step up their executive presence. I co-founded 2 organizations in the space of leadership development and executive coaching. And from last 10 years, I have been professionally coaching a lot of senior leaders to help them become more successful and more importantly, fulfilled in their career. So the question is, what is executive presence? Friends, executive presence has the word presence in it, which means being present, which means when your presence is inspiring for your team, which means when your presence is generating trust and confidence in your internal and external clients, when your presence is calming and soothing, charismatic. So friends, executive presence is the impact that a leader creates in its environment, in their ecosystem, when they rediscover that innate greatness within. So how to really work on creating a powerful executive presence? So in last several years in my journey to really hone my executive presence and that of my clients with whom I work, I realized that there are 3 insights which I have had in this journey. A powerful executive presence is a combination of right skill set, right mindset, and a powerful being.
Okay. So we're going to stop there and just want to continue. Can you now see my presentation? Okay. So let's talk about this a little bit. This is just going to be open. Feel free to put it in the chat or come off of mute. How did Kishtit define executive presence?
As being present and having that your presence is meaningful or powerful for your team.
Okay, being present, being powerful for your team. Great. Thank you, Monica. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yes, something I listened was he said the impact the leader creates in the environment.
Thank you, Evelyn. Impact the leader creates in the environment. Okay. Someone else?
I think what I took from that would be the right combination of skill set, mindset, and powerful being. Those three.
Yeah. And I can't see you, so can you share your name with me?
Gallardo.
Cynthia?
Olga Gallardo.
Oh, Olga. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I took myself off camera.
That's fine. Right mindset, right skill set, and powerful being. Perfect. Okay, so what did he think? Were any of his thoughts similar to yours prior to his conversation with his supervisor?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to explain, Marta?
Yes, I too was brought up thinking you work hard, you show, you're gonna get promoted. In all reality, it's not that. It is taking up space in the room. Having that executive presence, meaning for me, feeling confident to speak about whatever could be the issue of the day, or maybe resolve an issue, really allowing my intelligence to be displayed in the meetings, not take up too much presence, but just enough to leave individuals saying, oh, Martha, I remember her.
Beautiful. I love that you said intelligence displayed. And oh, Martha, I remember her. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue, because this is kind of what I think. Friends, he said this. Executive presence has the word presence in it, which means being present. So this is where a lot of my people, when I say my people, those that I've worked with, we put so much value on the work, especially in corporate, especially in any industry that we are. But a lot of times, if we're first gen or if we're from families of mixed status, we may have been told just work hard, keep your head down. There's all these cultural things that could happen, but it means being present. And when you're saying being present, it goes down to those social skills, to those personal skills, to the people skills. So again, this is what he said. Right mindset, right skill set, powerful being. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, this is just for you. We're not going to share this out. How would you rate yourself in each of these areas? So go ahead and do that. Do you think you have the right mindset for executive presence? Do you have the powerful being? Do you lead with that? Do you have the right skill set? Right? Where are you? Now, this is what I typically see and hear. With many, we put so much weight on the right skill set. Yes, we have a good, strong mindset, but our powerful being, sometimes we make ourselves smaller than we need to be, than we should be. And so we're not eluding that confidence, that executive skills, executive presence. Any reaction, comments to this?
This is Martha. I do. And I agree. There was a point where I deluded myself because I wanted to be more accepted, because I thought that if I showed up the way Martha is, my surroundings or my counterparts weren't going to like me. So I allowed to, dilute myself, which really hindered my growth.
Right.
So
Thank you. Yes. Okay. So yeah, and this is what I think. So we don't need to be small. We already have the right skill set. How can we make these other areas equal or balanced? So this is one of my favorite quotes. This is from Maya Angelou. She's like, I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So this really goes down to the people skills, the social interaction, and Dolores, you said it, or you shared it with your group, is having that trust, building those trust-based relationships with others. And yes, we may be confident in doing that at home and our personal circles, but how can we translate those same or transfer that same skill set in our professional setting and do it without fear? Okay, this is a reminder. We saw this. It means being present. So how do we make others, how do we remain to be present with others? Okay, this is what it boils down to. Those with executive presence make others feel seen, feel heard, and feel valued. That's what it boils down to. You make them feel seen, heard, and valued. And as Marta said, when I walk out of the room, I want people to say, I remember Marta. Or you want people to be dropping your name in rooms. If they're dropping your name in rooms that you're not in, that is because you've established a trusting relationship with them. Trust-based relationship. Okay. Now, this in the middle is what Kishtet said, right? Mindset, skill set, and a powerful being. Now, what I add, what I help people do as well, is communicate effectively. By communicating effectively, communication includes actual words, it includes body language, there's nonverbal cues, verbal cues, all of that stuff. Effective communicate aids in establishing strong relationships. Okay. Any questions? Okay, I'll keep going. Feel free to drop any questions in the chat or just let me know, raise your hand with an emoji. We'll go ahead. Okay, so how do you demonstrate executive presence? It's really how you show up. Are you showing up? And again, you've said a lot of these, walking in with confidence, how you're communicating with others. Are you acknowledging your audience? Are you taking time? And I think some of us, or when I've heard, is that there's this feeling of, note that I'm saying confident versus arrogance. And I think sometimes we conflate the two. Or, Marta, you said this, intelligence displayed. We can display our intelligence confidently without having to be arrogant. Okay, so you show up assertive and confident. You walk into the room physically or virtually as the leader that you are, and you show up as yourself. Okay, I'm going to ask, how do we feel doing this? Would anyone like to share a lived experience? Perhaps someone who hasn't shared yet?
My name's Celine.
Yes.
So I used to work at an accounting firm with a lot of white older age men who are CPA licensed, very strong opinionated. So the way that I remember like having or being able to come into a room and show my presence in an intimidating environment with all these individuals, all these white men, was due to the environment that they provided for me. So they were understanding, and they were willing to hear my ideas, and accepting, and a mutual respect between everyone in terms of, we heard you out, that might not work, and that's okay. So just, I believe the environment is a big factor on like whether or not you can walk into these into any area and show your presence.
Yes, the environment. That is huge. So some things we can control and some things we cannot control. So we can influence the environment, but if we're walking into a toxic environment or we're in a toxic environment, I mean, I'm going to be real with you. My advice is develop your exit plan. Like that's my advice. It's not like trying to change it if you're the only one. It's finding your ally. So yes, you can do this, but some other simple tactics that you can do in a virtual setting is that immediately when you come in, tell us where you're calling from, tell us where you're joining, what you're looking to hear out of the call. You're showing up, even though you may not have a speaking thing. When you're in person, I've seen this happen. Just take a look next time you're in an in-person thing and watch, and not to be sexist or anything, but watch what the men do versus the women. Some women will make themselves small. Someone's walking into the room and there's no seats around, and they'll immediately like start making themselves smaller, moving their bags, moving their things to make room. Yes, we're caring, but they're not, know that a person will ask, hey, do you mind if someone's sitting there? Can I sit there? So these are some things that I've observed. And just kind of, and I'm not trying to make you be more masculine or more manly, but it's just a challenge. I'm challenging you to take up your space. The challenge is don't make yourself smaller. I know you're considerate, but let's also know that the other people also have a voice and can ask for what their needs and their desires. Okay. All right. And then really, how do you communicate? How do you speak about topics in which you are knowledgeable? If you don't have an opinion about something, like because you don't have enough experience or knowledge, then, just speak about things that you're really knowledgeable. Challenge misconceptions. Again, this is your expertise. This is your skill set. This is your right mindset. Can you challenge and do it all with respect? All right. Okay. So what does this look like in the workplace? Hopefully none of you have experienced this, but I know I've seen it in one team in particular, which was a very toxic team. This is what I saw and observed. Belittling. We don't want this. All these are things that can destroy a relationship. And so, there's no trust building here. And if you notice that as soon as like you start elevating or you spend many years in the workplace, you may notice that leaders, they come up there, they will bring in their team. They will start bringing in or recruiting other people because they have those trust-based relationships and they built an effective team. And so they want to keep that going. So there's no side eye. I'm just curious, any of you seen this in the workplace? Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's see. Where are we on time? Okay. We're going to try this out. I'm going to ask, I have a few scenarios. We're only probably going to just do one or two because I'm going to open it up for Q&A. But we're going to read the scenario out loud. We're going to determine if it's executive presence and find the evidence. Why is that? Okay. So here is a networking event. May I get a volunteer, someone new, to read this out loud for us? And I might just pick on someone. Oh, Victoria, please read this out loud for us.
At a high-profile networking event with elected officials, community-based leaders, and industry partners, you effortlessly work the room, engaging in meaningful conversations with influential individuals. Your body language and tone convey self-assuredness, and you make others feel valued through active listening and thoughtful responses. People are naturally drawn to you, and you leave a lasting impression as someone with an executive presence who knows how to connect and build relationships.
All right. Thank you, Victoria. All right. Who would like to go ahead? Let's see. Okay, I will go ahead. Let's see. What about Araceli? Would you like to share?
Right. Share like the I guess like the networking event experience.
Yeah, so we had Victoria read it out loud. And so is this an example of a strong executive presence?
I do feel like being able to network in confident manner is part of having that executive presence.
Okay, thank you. So networking confidently adds to it. Anyone else want to add?
Yeah, I can add in the statement, it also says working the room. I think that's also a key important thing when it comes to networking, as well as being able to engage in meaningful conversations that perhaps may not be transactional, but actually lead to something.
Great. Okay, working the room, meaningful transactions. And I just want to point out, like, I mean, meaningful conversations is what you said. I want to point out that this is because in another conversation I had, we're like, oh, there's people that can do this, but they may not have like the follow through, or they may not have the, like con people that are trying to con, or maybe perhaps you've been in a, you can kind of just like tell when people is trying to, maybe you feel slimy after engaging with you. So that's not what this is. This is like someone who legitimately has the skill set, has the knowledge, and really can connect with you on a personal level with meaningful conversation. Okay. Any other comments on this one?
I have a follow-up. This is
Yes.
Rosalia. I have a follow-up to what you just mentioned, and this is because I'm I'm going to say this in a nice way. I'm forced to go into the community a lot because of my position. Not that it's bad or good or bad, but I've noticed that a lot of people are unintentional about how they network. And you just mentioned it. Some of them might be trying to sell you something, or might be trying to cling on to something, or might be trying to take advantage of certain status. So for example, in a position or your network, they try to kind of infiltrate that network so that to their advantage, not necessarily for their work, not necessarily for the purpose of the event, but just for their self-fulfillment. And that's the type of scenarios that I kind of tend to avoid, and in doing it very respectfully takes a very thoughtful skill where you're not insulting anybody, but you're also not diminishing the person. So I just wanted to piggyback off of that because it definitely feels slimy sometimes. Does feel like, oh, I see what you're doing, and I feel like secondhand embarrassment, if that makes sense. But it seems like this person at this networking event is actually drawing people to themselves, not necessarily plugging themselves into a position where they're just breaking into circles and saying, "Hi, my name is, and I'm here because of," etc.
Yes.
Right? Seems like this is much more natural and much organically and very intentional. So definitely signs of executive presence.
Yeah, and I know exactly what I feel that, and I think that we're all intelligent enough to discern when someone is being opportunistic versus someone who's legitimately trying to learn more, want to support, or just get to know you. But yes, I see that. I've been there too. Thank you for sharing that with us. Olga, did you want to share something or a comment?
Something that stands out in the quote that you just shared is being an active listener. And it's something that was touched on earlier about being present versus present on the work, right? And I think this is a good reminder for me because I work in communication, so I tend to talk a lot, but I need to, that's one of my goals that I added into my professional development plan at work was to be an active listener. Yet in my Enneagram, I am considered a quiet specialist, right? Because when I'm in a larger group with other folks who are in higher roles than myself, and I know the business very well, but I don't always tend to speak about it versus calling the person directly later and circling back with them. And I think that this is a good reminder to also admire leaders. And that's one of the things that I admire some of the leaders that I support, those who listen, because sometimes those are the quiet leaders that know more than others versus coming in and just kind of engaging the room with whatever they have to say. So
yeah, and thank you for that, Olga. And listening is probably the first thing that needs to happen when you're communicating, right? It is an aspect of communication. Thank you. Okay, let's do one more. All right. So can I get a different volunteer to read this one aloud, please? The open door policy. Let's see. All right. Can I call on you, Maria Dominguez, to read this out loud?
Yes, hi. I was just looking for my unmute button. Your supervisor prides themselves in telling others that they have an open door policy, meaning they are available to you and your colleagues. Yet, when given constructive feedback by subordinates or peers, your supervisor becomes defensive and dismissive. They fail to acknowledge their areas for improvement and do not demonstrate a growth mindset. This resistance to feedback showcases a lack of self-awareness and adaptability.
All right. Thank you. Can I have, let's see, is this a strong executive presence, a weak executive presence? What do we think here and why?
I would say that no, it's not executive presence. And at a recent training, I kind of like saw this example in a different way. We typically hear that open door policy is like, well, they're very accessible, but some of the time is putting the responsibility in the employees to approach the leader instead of the leader being someone that's aware of kind of like what's going on in the organization. And so reading the rest of the description, it's just kind of like, hey, I'm available whenever you need it. But once you come in, it's like, I don't even know how to deal with the issue or how to support you, and just listening.
Right.
Sometimes.
Yes. So they're saying this, but really they don't know. There's the follow through is not what we expect. Right. Anyone else?
Well, I think I'll chime in. The only thing I was gonna say is going back to the little circle of the information about the right mindset. If you have executive presence, right, you have to have the ability to take feedback and leverage it and use it. I mean, that's part of being self-aware and how to manage yourself and develop your EQ. So I would say this leader has some work to do.
Yes, this leader has, and maybe, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Maybe they're not a leader yet because they don't have that self-awareness and they don't have that. And the reason I say that is because a lot of us, or some of us, this goes back to one of those thoughts. If you are a supervisor or a manager, or if you have this title where you have direct reports or whatever that is, you automatically have executive presence, and that's not the case. We can be someone who has no title, and yet we're leaders and we exude executive presence. We exude confidence. We know how to develop trust-based relationships. We know how to carry and cultivate those relationships further along. So just a couple things. Okay, Maria, did you have a question? or comment?
Well, yeah, I wanted to add something, Yanira, because I think now that we're in this hybrid workplace, like for myself, I work from home. And I think when I was in the office, having an open door policy, folks might be more accessible because like naturally, like you see it. But now that for me in my work environment, open door policy, like being a manager is much more important, like to really be responsive to the subordinates because of that extra barrier. So I think for me, what I'm taking back is, how do I practice having an open door policy with the people that I work with, even if they're not my subordinates, but thinking about that extra layer of being in a virtual environment, that may be a barrier for people to reach out to me.
Yeah, that's a great question. And things to think about is like, how does technology support you in that? So perhaps there's Slack, perhaps there's other things, but even if it's your phone, like how is technology supporting you to make that connection available and open? Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and, I'm going to open up for Q&A because we are out of time. So this is the time for you to ask any questions that you have for me, but I would also love to just get your feedback. And if you wouldn't mind, it's not going to take you more than 3 minutes. I promise. It's pretty much but if you can take your phone, scan this QR code, and please tell me what you mean, how this was. But at this time, I want to open it up for specific questions that you may have about executive presence. What have you seen? Perhaps you have some tips on, you can help Maria, like what is technology for those of us in hybrid? How do we keep that communication open? Okay.
I just wanted to thank you for this and thank Hope for this. I think might have been something that I had flagged in the survey that they did, but I think this is so helpful because my company makes me do professional development trainings, and you all offering this for free, greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Olga. Okay.
And I wasn't able to access this on my iPhone. Would it be possible? Are you following up after this so that we can fill out the survey?
I can most definitely send this, and I don't know, Hope may have another survey, but I will connect with Hope.
Great, thanks.
Or perhaps you can place the link in the chat.
Oh yeah.
I'll have to open it up real quick. Yes, I could probably do that too. Okay. Marta, did you have a question?
Well, it's not necessarily a question, but I do want to chime in regards to a topic that was discussed on, individuals being labeled as leaders. I've noticed that being an HR professional, many times the title leader is given so loosely when these individuals are not leaders. They're still managers, and it takes steps to be a leader. And it starts with working with yourself first before you can lead anybody else. That was what I wanted to chime in regards to when I think of these executive presence as well / leadership roles.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Thank you.
I believe that leaders are more than the job title. And so I believe that managers manage, but leaders are inspiring. Will inspire and lead groups to take action. Okay. Any other questions? And thank you, Dolores, for dropping the QR code in the chat. Thank you so much. And Monica también for doing that.
I have a question. Do you have any advice for any young professionals working towards gaining this executive confidence or executive presence?
So my advice is build your relationships. Build those, go out there and meet people. And I know it can be scary at first. Like what I hear the term networking years ago, it would make me sweat. Like I would go to these mixers and I didn't know anyone, but I knew I had to go do it because oftentimes I was the only Latina in the room. But I knew I had to do this because in my mind, it wasn't just me. Like in my mind, it's for my family, up, down, side. In my mind, it's for my community. And so as uncomfortable as it was, I would go to these rooms and build. But I will tell you what was super easy for me. What was super easy for me was to build my relationships online. Like super easy to engage on LinkedIn, on posts, and start building trust like that. And then to practice the in-person networking, I started with what I knew best. And those were the small communities at home. So for me, that meant church. I started joining groups, just putting myself out there a little bit. My gym, my yoga studio, making myself make friends as an adult was harder than it was as a kid. So keep doing that would be my recommendation. And then those snowball and they'll start connecting you with other people.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Is there like a book that you would recommend on this topic? If you wanna.
It's funny that you ask that because that was my content for today. So yeah, I took a picture of all the books that have helped me. So just so I'm not lying. Oh, you can't see it because, okay. So yes, The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. Okay. Becoming, Michelle Obama. Start with Why, Simon Sinek. Dare to Lead, Dr. Brene Brown. I read this book, Acts of Faith, Iyanla Vanzant. Yeah, and it's just like a lot of self-reflection because I notice a lot of time we're just do, that we don't spend time to reflect and really like think about our desires and what do we want. So those are just some of the books. And then I see that in the chat, a lot of you are putting other options. So yeah. And then Maria's already dropping in her chat, her LinkedIn, beautiful. So make sure you connect with others. Okay. Any other, let's see, Karina.
Hello, yeah. Just thank you for all the information. I think just want to know what are your thoughts or any recommendations. I think for me, like executive presence is also being able to balance being friendly and collaborative and being the face of your organization while also being firm and being able to advocate. So how do you balance collaborative, friendly, like approachable, but at the same time, like don't mess with my org, right? Like I come to do business and I come to play nice, but like, but I also don't mess with me, like I think that's why I'm trying to find that balance.
Okay, I will say two things there. One, accountability, and that's self-accountability. I think leaders hold themselves accountable for their own actions and they model that behavior. So they expect accountability from their team. That's one. And then the second thing is managing expectations and boundary setting. So if you notice when I first came on the calls, I like set up my expectations. I'm like, I am expecting you to talk. This is not going to be a time where you can just, look like you're on, I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, but like be on a call, but not be on a call. I think we've all done that. I have. Right. So those are my expectations and I up front. And those are me setting those boundaries with you all. Another boundary that I have is just like, I'm a parent. I have 2 kids. I'm also a school board member. So I structure my day and I let people know I'm available this time and I'm off the clock at this time because I'm doing family. And that's it.
Well, thank you so much, Yanira. It's been such an informative session, and thank you so much for your time and everybody that participated and joined us today. But it is 12:59, so I don't think there's any more time for any more questions, but thank you for all the resources you've shared I know your contact information is on the presentation that we've recorded and will be sharing and uploading to our website. So with that being said, thank you for joining us once again, and stay tuned for our next session, which is August 28th, and it's gonna be focused on Latina leadership in corporate. So keeping the theme, right, but in a different sector. So please make sure you check out our website, you registered for the upcoming sessions, and anybody that wants to reach me, my information is also on the website. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.